Welcome to The Explainer. Let me ask you something. What if that feeling you get when you hear a beautiful piece of music or when you see a truly stunning sunset? What if that wasn't just, a matter of taste? What if it was actually hardwired into our genetic code? Today, we're diving into a pretty wild theory that suggests our DNA itself holds the key to beauty, to music, and even to mathematics. I mean, really think about it. The last time a song gave you goosebumps, or a view just completely took your breath away. What is that feeling? Is it something we learn from our culture, or is it something way more fundamental, something biological that we're all just born with? Well, we're going to explore a fascinating, and I mean really fascinating, theory from a researcher named Jean-Claude. His idea is that our sense of beauty actually has a mathematical and a genetic origin. It's a wild ride that connects our very own genes to the rhythms of jazz and even the fundamental vibrations of the universe itself. Okay, so our first clue takes us deep, deep inside our own genetic code. Specifically, we're looking at human chromosome 1. The theory zeroes in on this one specific gene cluster that, get this, humans have a ton of copies of compared to other species. And this isn't just random genetic junk. This specific region is directly linked to the evolution of the human brain and our own intelligence. Okay, so stick with me here. Imagine our DNA is kind of like a guitar string. A standing wave is just a vibration that looks like it's standing still, creating this really stable, repeating pattern. The theory claims this gene cluster does exactly that. It hums, it vibrates, creating a signature rhythm with very specific measurable frequencies. So this chart, I know, it looks a little complicated, but you don't need to be a scientist to get the gist. This is the raw data from the paper's analysis. And the key thing to see is what the author found buried in all this noise. These consistent repeating resonance periods, especially around the numbers 12, 19, and 31. It's a hint that a non-random pattern is literally emerging from our DNA. Now, when you take these resonance periods and you string them together, they form a sequence. And at first glance, it just looks like a random jumble of numbers. But is it? Okay, so here it is. This is the sequence the paper claims is basically broadcasting from our genes. 5, 7, 12, 19, 31, and so on. But it turns out this isn't random at all. In fact, this exact sequence already has a name, and it was discovered in a place you would absolutely never, ever expect. So, where do you think this supposedly genetic sequence popped up? In some high-tech genetics lab? A dusty old math book? Nope, not even close. It was found in the world of jazz. Get this, the paper claims this genetic sequence is already known in the music world as the Evangelist Suite. It was reportedly used by early jazz musicians in New Orleans when they were composing spirituals. I mean, the question is just staggering. How could a mathematical pattern from our genes possibly appear in human music, decades before we could even sequence DNA? Okay, to get what's going on here, we gotta do a quick detour into two really famous number patterns, the Fibonacci and Lucas sequences. The rule is super simple. You just add the last two numbers to get the next one. But these simple patterns create the spirals you see everywhere in nature, from seashells to the arms of entire galaxies. They are, in a way, nature's building blocks for harmony. And here's where it gets really clever. The paper reveals the hidden logic. Each number in that so-called genetic evangelist suite is created by adding a Fibonacci number to the very next Lucas number in its sequence. So, for example, you take the Fibonacci number 8, you add the next Lucas number, which is 11, and you get 19, one of the key numbers from our DNA resonance. See? This isn't a coincidence. It's a precise mathematical relationship. Okay, so we've got this internal rhythm, right? This music coming from our DNA. But for resonance to happen, you need something on the outside for it to resonate with. And that brings us to the other half of this puzzle, the sound frequency of 432 Hertz. Now, I gotta say, this is a pretty controversial idea in physics, but some people believe this frequency is a special natural vibration, almost like a tuning fork for the entire universe. So what the author does is pretty ingenious. He constructs a brand new sequence to be a symmetrical counterpart, a mirror image to the one from our DNA, and he calls it the diapason sequence. Diapason is an old word for a tuning fork. This new sequence is so important because it mathematically builds up to and culminates in that very specific number, 432. And this just lays it all out perfectly. You can really see the beautiful symmetry at the heart of the theory. The two sequences are perfect mirror images of each other in how they're built. One is Fibonacci plus the next Lucas number. The other is Lucas plus the next Fibonacci. One represents our internal DNA rhythm. The other represents external, universal harmony. All right, we're almost there. We have two symmetrical patterns, the music coming from our genes and the supposed music of the universe. The last piece of the puzzle is figuring out how they lock together. So how does it all connect? What's the bridge that links our own internal, biological music with the harmony of the world out there? What makes that connection just click? The author uses this really powerful, really simple metaphor, a key and a lock. Our DNA is the lock, and that feeling of experiencing beauty, aesthetic perception, that happens when the right external frequency, the right key, fits perfectly into our internal genetic lock. It's a moment of perfect resonance. And this all builds up to the theory's biggest, most audacious claim, a single, elegant formula that it calls the equation of aesthetics. And here it is. Just look at that. You have the evangelist sequence, the one from our DNA, plus the classic Fibonacci sequence, which is like the building block of nature itself. And what does it equal? The diapason sequence, the representation of external harmony that perfectly culminates in the number 432. It's a stunningly simple formula that tries to connect biology, math, and the cosmos all in one go. So what you really should take away from this is the incredible cascade of intelligence that's being proposed here. It's a direct line. Our genes create physical waves, those waves produce mathematical number sequences, and those sequences create a whole system of harmony. It's a straight shot from the biological to the beautiful. So what does this all mean? Well, this theory suggests that when you perceive something as beautiful, whether it's art, nature, or music, you might be experiencing a profound resonance, a connection between the mathematical structure of the universe and a code that's written into your own DNA. And the paper leaves us with this final, pretty mind-bending question about the origin of such a brilliant architecture. Now, while this is definitely still a speculative theory, it's a powerful one, right? It forces us to ask whether our sense of beauty isn't just in the eye of the beholder, but maybe it's in the very code of our being.